hand it to him.
Touchdown! Georgia SEC champions! As every dog digs really deep.
The college football playoff is officially here, and every team is perfect. The committee got it completely right. So here, we're going to have our predictions of who's going to win the national championship. If you guys do enjoy this video, drop a like, subscribe if you guys are new and want to see more sports content, and let's jump right into it. So first, I'm going to put up a graphic here. This is going to be what the bracket looks like right now. Right now, you got Oregon at the 1, Georgia at 2, Boise State at 3, Arizona State is at 4. Now for your first round matchups, you've got Clemson at Texas, then you got SMU at Penn State, you've got Indiana at Notre Dame, and then you've got Tennessee at Ohio State. So before we get into the predictions, let's talk about the bracket, how the committee did, and some of the talking points. So one of the biggest stories is that Alabama actually got robbed. I know a lot of Alabama fans, especially on social media, believe that Alabama should have been in the 12-team playoff, but the issue is they have 3 losses. There's a reason why Alabama didn't make it over SMU, and to be honest, I believe it is a very good reason. Alabama is a 3-loss team, with 2 of those losses being pretty bad to a 6-6 Vanderbilt and Oklahoma, and especially the loss to Oklahoma being their worst of the season, considering they only put up 3 points and got blown out. So when you look at it from that perspective, and also add into the fact that Alabama didn't make it to the SEC title game, what exactly did Alabama do all year to deserve to be in the playoff? I understand that some people believe, oh, the strength of schedule matters, and it does matter. Alabama absolutely has a stronger strength of schedule. But I've seen some people talk about non-conference games. Alabama did not have a strong non-conference schedule. They played relatively easy teams. So I don't think it's really fair to use that as an argument as if SMU and Alabama played vastly different opponents out of conference. Now, Alabama's going to naturally have a stronger strength of schedule because they play in the SEC. But the issue is they suffered 2 bad losses, and they suffered a loss to Tennessee, which obviously isn't really going to hurt because Tennessee is a top 10 team. But you can't ignore the fact that Alabama had 2 bad losses. And I don't understand why people believe that Alabama should just get this pass to be able to lose to teams like that and still make the playoff and reward them. That doesn't make sense. So to just set the record straight, Alabama 100% does not deserve to be in the playoff. And if you're blaming the committee and blaming everything else, how about you blame the team for losing those 2 games? I mean, it's just that simple. Alabama has to win those games. And I mean, if you're going to hold that standard for every other team, you have to hold Alabama to that standard as well. You have to handle business, and it's that. Another big talking point is Georgia. So Georgia ended up winning the SEC championship. They beat Texas. But the issue is Carson Beck might be missing the entire college football playoff with an elbow injury. When Gunnar Stockton had to come off of the field because his helmet came off, they tried to put Carson Beck in, but he couldn't even move his arm. That's how bad it is. And they're considering surgery. If he gets surgery, he's going to miss the entirety of the college football playoff. Now, I understand that Georgia does have a little bit of time because they did win that game, but it's going to be very brutal to see them not have Carson Beck. Now, a lot of Georgia fans do believe that they might have a better chance because Carson Beck has been really up and down this year. But I can see it 100% not working out for Georgia. Now, Georgia does end up playing the winner of the Indiana-Notre Dame game. And my thought process is, if Indiana wins, I think Georgia will be fine. But if Notre Dame wins, I think you're going to have a really tough game, especially without Carson Beck. Now, this isn't to say that Carson Beck is the team. Georgia is still one of the best teams in college football. So while I do think that losing Carson Beck ultimately hurts the team, I can 100% see Georgia being fine. I mean, Gunnar Stockton just has to not make mistakes. He just has to be a game manager, and the rest of the things the team can do will fall into place. SMU at Penn State. This is a huge talking point because a lot of people believe that Penn State got rewarded for losing the Big Ten title game while Oregon got pretty much punished. Oregon is the #1 seed. They play the winner of Ohio State and Tennessee. That is insane. That is easily the hardest path to the college football playoff. Not to mention, this means that, let's say Ohio State beats Tennessee, Oregon would have to then play Ohio State. And in the reverse, they would have to play Tennessee. Oregon's going to get to, let's say they win and they get to the semifinal, probably in a tough nail-biting game. You're probably going to have to play Arizona State, which is probably going to be the second easiest opponent there. Clemson, also not going to be a team that's going to back down, or more than likely Texas, which is easily going to be the toughest team over there, and I think is going to be the team most likely to get to the semifinal, which means Oregon would have to go through either one of Ohio State and Tennessee, and maybe probably even Texas to get to the national championship. Then you look at Penn State. Penn State has to go through SMU and Boise State. Then they will get any combination of Georgia, Notre Dame, or Indiana. When you look at it from that perspective, I believe all of the teams that are in the playoff deserve to be here, and they're correct. I think the seeding is bad. I don't think there is any world where the number 1 seed in the country should have to essentially have the toughest team in the second round to play against. There's no reason Oregon pretty much got punished for beating Penn State. And that's not to say Penn State is a pushover, they're a bad team. They're a good team, but Penn State almost has a free ride to the semifinal. No disrespect to SMU and Boise State. They've had amazing seasons, but I don't think anybody really expects them to beat Penn State though. And so I can see why a lot of people are outraged by the way that the seeding is. And I do think that in the offseason, they definitely need to look at restructuring how the playoff seedings work. So as you can see, we're going to hop right into the predictions. I got my bracket here. I know it looks a little squished. The resolution ain't the best, but just work with me. So we're going to start off with Indiana and Notre Dame. My issue with Indiana is they haven't really beaten anybody all year. They've had a cakewalk of a schedule. Let's call it what it is. Now, do they deserve to make the playoff? Yes. They only lost 1 game, and it was to the only good team they played in Ohio State. But Indiana still deserved to be here, and it would have been a bigger issue if they fell out, because it shows that you can go 11-1 in a conference like the Big Ten and still not be good enough to make the playoff over 3 and 2 lost teams. So I feel like Indiana is probably going to lose. They're going to have to go to South Bend and play Notre Dame. That's not an easy place to play. Notre Dame is one of the hotter teams in college football right now. Ever since the Northern Illinois game, they have been on fire. And I think Notre Dame is probably going to win this game. So I am going to say that Notre Dame advances. The next game we're going to talk about is Penn State and SMU. And I've got Penn State winning this game. And my reasoning for that is because I just don't know if SMU is ready to go into that environment. Penn State has got one of the hardest places to play in college football. And although we know James Franklin and Penn State has struggled against top-ranking teams, I think this is a game that they can get. If they lose this one, James Franklin probably is going to be on the hot seat. I will probably make a completely separate video about that. But Penn State, I have them winning this game, and I think it's primarily because of home field advantage. I'd probably be a little more indifferent in terms of, I think SMU might be able to get them if SMU was at home, but with it being at Penn State, I don't know if I can trust SMU to be able to go into Penn State and win that game. So I've got Notre Dame and Penn State advancing. Next up is Ohio State and Tennessee, and as you can see, I have Ohio State advancing. I just think this is the same situation. I think Ohio State and Tennessee are right around the same. I do think Ohio State is a slightly better team. I do think they have a better defense, and I think that defense is going to be the biggest reason why they win this game. I think another reason is Ohio State has home field advantage. I think it's going to be very difficult for Tennessee to go into Columbus and beat Ohio State. I think my opinion would be different if this was reversed. I would find it very difficult for Ohio State to go to Tennessee and win this game. Although I still think I'd pick them, I just genuinely believe Ohio State is just a better team, but just by a little bit. I think Tennessee is a good team, but it's going to be difficult to go on the road and win this game against that defense. And it's going to be very electric. It's going to be loud. I just don't know how Tennessee is going to pull that one off. I think it's possible. I think it's going to be a great game, but I have Ohio State winning. And finally, I got Clemson at Texas. I think this is kind of a situation where I think Clemson is a little outmatched here. I think they've had a great year. I think it's shocking they made it this far and won the ACC. Nobody expect that. But to go to Texas is a tough draw. That is a tough draw. But I think they're going to play them a lot closer than Texas thinks they are, and a lot of people think they are. I think ultimately Texas wins this by probably around 10 points, 10, 13 points, somewhere around there. And I think Texas is going to advance. So let me know you guys' predictions in the comments below. Drop a like, subscribe if you guys are new. Let me know what you think. And I will see you guys in my next video. Peace.